Have you bought this crochet kit from Kmart? Are you completely confused by the instructions? If so, know that you're not alone. Throw the instructions away, watch this tutorial instead, and I'll show you how to make this little gingerbread keyring, because making should be mellow. Okay, so this is everything that you get included in the kit. There is the gingerbread colour yarn, a teeny little bit of fibre fill, some white, red and black yarn, the instructions. Then they include a 2mm hook this time. There's some safety eyes, a keychain, some buttons, and some clear kind of wire. I'm not exactly sure what that is for. It's quite stretchy. It's almost like a clear elastic. Also, it looks like they've included a metal tapestry needle, which is great because these plastic ones are just terrible to work with. So I'm going to use my own crochet hook for this tutorial. This is my 2.0 Clover and More crochet hook. Okay, so we're going to start with the head, and for that you want the brown coloured yarn. We're going to start with a magic ring. I've included in the description below a slower beginner tutorial for how to do a magic ring. It is one of the trickier things to get your head around, so don't get too discouraged if you're finding it tricky. In that tutorial I also provide an alternative approach you can use if you're just struggling to get the hang of the magic ring. But basically what you want to do is take the yarn tail in your left hand between your thumb and your first finger with the little tail hanging down and the ball of yarn to the left of you. Then you want to take this bit of yarn here and wrap it around your first two fingers underneath, and then go over the top in an X like so, and just hold that in place with your third finger. Take your crochet hook, you want to go under this first strand of yarn here, grab the second strand of yarn and pull it through towards your fingernails, and then just push it through and twist it so you're sitting on top like so. And then for the final step, we're going to grab this strand of yarn here, just putting our crochet hook under that strand of yarn, and then we're going to pull it through this loop that's on our hook. And that's a magic ring. I'll show you that one more time. Yarn tail facing down, wrap it around in an X, under the top strand, grab the second strand, pull it through and twist it on top, grab this strand and pull that through the loop on your hook. Hi, I just wanted to quickly jump in here to tell you that I am very excited to have launched my own Learn How to Crochet kit. So if you're getting frustrated with your Kmart kit at any point and you want to upgrade to a kit that has better materials and better quality instruction, be sure to check out my Learn How to Crochet kit in my YouTube storefront or on Etsy or madeit.com.au. I'll include a little bit more information about the kit and what you can expect at the end of this video. Thanks so much for watching. Then we're going to do 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Again, I've included a beginner's tutorial down below for how to do a single crochet if this is your first time picking up a crochet hook. But essentially for this first round we're going to be working into the magic ring. So the first step is you want to insert your hook into the middle of the magic ring. I find it's easiest to hold the ring with my thumb and third finger, using my index finger to keep my yarn tension consistent. Then you want to yarn over, so drape the yarn from the back of the hook over the hook. Then you're going to catch the yarn in the head of your crochet hook and pull it through the circle. Then you'll have 2 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over again, so drape the yarn over the hook, and we're going to pull that through both loops. That's a single crochet. Then we want to mark this stitch as the first stitch of our round. So grab one of your stitch markers, and then to insert your stitch marker, you just want to go under both prongs of the V of the stitch. So there's a 1 bar here, 1 bar here that make up a single crochet stitch. You're just going into this gap here underneath those 2 prongs like so, and then you can close it. So this is what it looks like on the side and on the top. Okay, we're going to do 6 single crochets in total, so that's the first one. We'll do another 5 all into the magic ring. Once you've got 6 single crochets, then you can pull on the little yarn tail from your magic ring, and that will close your work up into a kind of semicircle like this. Okay, then we're going to slip stitch to join. So these new Kmart kits seem to be worked in join rounds rather than continuous rounds, which is generally the approach that the earlier kits used. So a joined round means that at the end of each round, we're joining the end of our round to the start of the next round with a slip stitch, and then we're also doing a chain one to get the height we need for the next round. If you're new to crochet, I definitely recommend marking both your first and your last stitch of the round with stitch markers, because it can get really easy to get confused about where your row starts and ends otherwise. So I've got a stitch marker in my first stitch and in my last stitch, and you can count the V's to make sure you've got the right number, which should be 6. Okay, we're going to do a slip stitch to join. So to do a slip stitch, you want to insert your hook into the space where your stitch marker is. If it's a bit tight, you can take your stitch marker out so that you can get your hook in there. So again, I'm inserting my hook in the same place as where the stitch marker went in, so it's just above the base of the stitch here, but going under both the front and the back of the V. To do a slip stitch, you want to yarn over and pull that yarn through. You'll have 2 loops in your hook, and then we're going to pull this yarn through this one. So this is different from a single crochet because we're not yarning over, we're just taking this loop and pulling it through the loop on our hook. That's a slip stitch. Then for the start of round 2, we're going to start with a chain 1. So to do a chain 1, you just want to yarn over and pull that yarn through the hook. That's a chain stitch. So just to show you here, this was our last single crochet, this was our slip stitch, and this is our chain. The chain and the slip stitch don't count as stitches, so that's why we need to use our stitch markers so we don't confuse them for actual stitches. For round 2, we're going to be doing increases into every stitch. So an increase just means you're doing 2 stitches into every 1 stitch. So our first stitch is the one that we did the slip stitch into. So you can see this bar of yarn is going back into this stitch here. So I want to put my hook back into the very same space that that stitch is coming out of. And we'll do a single crochet. Move your stitch marker into that stitch because it's the first one of round 2. And then because we're doing an increase, we're going to do a second single crochet back into the same stitch. So again, just follow the yarn from your hook down into your work, and that's the base there that you want to insert your hook into. So just right into here, we'll do a second single crochet. So now I have 2 single crochets in the 1 single crochet from round 1. I'm going to do that to every stitch around. So I'm going to move on to the next stitch, which is this one here. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through, and then do that a second time into the same stitch. I'm just going to do this all the way around, so we're doing 2 single crochets into every one of the 6 stitches from round 1, which means by the end of round 2 we're going to have 12 stitches. Now, I will say the Kmart yarn is quite splitty, like it splits into its individual fibres, which is just a function of the quality of the yarn, and I do find some colours are better than others. This colour seems to be particularly bad. I'm finding it really splitty. Okay, so once you reach your stitch marker, you know this is your last stitch, so we'll do an increase into this one, and we'll move our stitch marker into the last of those stitches, as it's the last stitch of the round. And then we're going to join round 2 in the same way, so we'll do a slip stitch back into that first stitch, and we will chain 1. I think as well as the splittiness of this yarn, I also think this hook is a little bit too small for the yarn. So if you are getting frustrated with it splitting, just know that it's not a beginner thing, it's a function of the yarn and the hook. Okay, for round 3, we're going to alternate between doing single crochets and increases. So into the first stitch, so the one that's still got our stitch marker in it, we'll do our first single crochet, and we'll move our stitch marker into that stitch. Then we'll move on to the second stitch, and into that second stitch we'll do an increase. So 2 single crochets into that second stitch. Then into the third stitch, we're just going to do the 1 single crochet. And then the fourth we'll do an increase, so 2 single crochets. You just want to repeat this pattern around, and by the time you get to the end, you should have 18 stitches. and your last stitch should be an increase. If it's not, then you might have miscounted somewhere. Again, just move that stitch marker into the last stitch. I'm going to join this round in the same way, so a slip stitch back to the first stitch, followed by chain 1. Okay, then for round 4, we're going to do single crochets in the first 2 stitches. So the first one, again with our stitch marker, will just be the 1 single crochet. Into the second stitch, we'll also just do a single crochet. And then into the third stitch, we'll do an increase. So 2 single crochets into that stitch. And then we'll just repeat this around. So single crochet, single crochet, increase. Gosh, this yarn is terrible. Again, your last stitch should be an increase. And we'll join in the same way. The slip stitch and a chain 1. Okay, so now that you've got the hang of working the round and doing increases, you can follow the instructions on the screen for the next few rounds. So for round 5, you'll start the round with a chain 1, which we've already done, and then you'll do single crochets in the first 3 stitches and increase in the 4th stitch. You'll repeat that pattern 6 times, slip stitch to join, and you'll have 30 stitches by the end of round 5. For round 6, start with a chain 1, single crochet in the first 4 stitches, followed by an increase in the 5th stitch. Repeat that pattern 6 times, slip stitch to join, and you'll have 36 stitches by the end of round 6. For round 7 through to 11, you'll start with a chain 1 and then just do single crochets all the way around. So 36 single crochets in total. You'll join and you'll have 36 stitches at the end of each of those rounds, and then you want to repeat that essentially for 5 rows in total. And then I'll meet you back here at the end of round 11, because from round 12 we're going to start doing some decreases. Okay, so once you've finished row 11, you should have something that looks like this. Before we start row 12, we're going to do a couple of extra steps. The first of which is we're going to weave in this initial yarn tail. So in the middle of your magic circle will be the tail that we used when we made the magic ring. It might be on the outside, it might be on the inside, depending on which way your work has curled. There is a right side and a wrong side. So the right side, or the side that should be facing out, is the one without the tail. The tail is on the side that is the wrong side, or the inside of your work. So you want this side poking out, the tail tucked inside, rather than this way around. But we do want to weave this in, and so to do that we want to push our work to the wrong side, and you just want to take your tapestry needle and thread it onto your yarn. Now, I was excited that they included a metal tapestry needle, but I've just realized it's not a tapestry needle, it's a sewing needle. It's a bit too small to use as a tapestry needle, and it's occurred to me that this is probably actually just to attach the buttons. So they do include a plastic tapestry needle. These are really annoying to use, so I'm going to use my metal one. Basically, once you've threaded that onto your yarn tail, you just want to pull tight so that your magic ring closes up nicely, and then we're just going to work under a few different stitches. You want to work under at least 4 or 5 stitches and in at least 3 different directions. And the purpose of this is just to make sure that your magic ring doesn't come undone. So once you're confident that's nice and secure, you can just tuck that tail back in and push it through to the right side. If this was going to be visible, we could trim it off, but because it's not, it can just form part of the stuffing. Now is also a good time to add our eyes and our face details. They don't tell you to do this until the end of round 15, but it's going to be much harder then, because we will have decreased and kind of reduced the size of the bottom of our head. So they include 2 safety eyes, which are these little plastic things, and the 2 little stoppers. The important thing to know about safety eyes is they're not safe for young children. They are a choking hazard, and they can come out of crochet work really easily. they're not actually designed for crochet, they're designed for fabric, and so it can be really easy for them to come through. So if you are going to give your gingerbread man to a young child, you don't want to use safety eyes, you want to stitch your eyes on instead. But if you are using your safety eyes, now is a good time to insert them. They suggest adding them at between rounds 8 and 9 and 7 stitches apart. So we can just count our rounds down from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So between these two rows here. And then you want your, where we've been starting and ending our rows, to be at the back, because there's a visible seam here from our joining stitches. So it's good to have that at the back. And then you can just insert the safety eye from the front through to the back. And then you want to count 7 stitches and insert the second one. Then you want to move to the back of your work and apply the little stoppers. Just facing down like so, and just push them all the way down so that's nice and secure. And then we also want to add our eyebrows and our face, so and our smile. So for that you want the black yarn. You could use the whole length of yarn if you like, but it might be a little bit unmanageable. So if you're finding it annoying, you could cut it down a little bit. But essentially you want to insert the yarn into your tapestry needle. And we're going to do 2 eyebrows and also a mouth. I suggest we start with the mouth. So the mouth we're doing at round 10. So this last row was round 11, so the row above that. So you just want to be about a stitch in from the eye and pull it through from the back to the front and pull it almost all the way through. So just pull it until you're almost at the end, but leave a tail here and be careful not to accidentally pull it all the way through. So this is the top right corner of our smile. Then we want to go back down where we want the left side of our smile to be and pull that through, but again, don't pull it all the way through, leave this a little bit loose, because what we're going to do is then come up in the middle of these 2 points and we're going to come up above the loop that we've left. So the stitch where you want to come up is about a row down. So I worked up at the top of my row and now I'm working at the bottom of the row, and then you just want to come up above this loop and pull that all the way through. Being careful not to pull the initial yarn tail through. And then you can pull that tight and it will pull it down into a little smile. And then what you want to do is come back down below the smile. Which will just anchor that little smile in place. Now we can do the eyebrows. So the eyebrows, you want to go either directly above the eye, or you could go a stitch up. So again, just poke it out where you want the eyebrow to start. And back down where you want it to finish. And actually when you insert your needle back down for the end of the eyebrow, you want to poke it out where you want the next eyebrow to start. And then you can go back down where you want that eyebrow to finish. My eyebrows aren't quite even, so I'm just going to redo that second one. There you go. Once you're happy with the face details, then I like to both weave in my end but also knot my initial yarn tail in this one so that this isn't going to come undone. So I'm just going to work under a few stitches. Just be a little bit careful in weaving in with your black yarn because you don't want it to show through. So just kind of work under the very top of the stitch. I'm just going to broadly work my way towards the other yarn tail. And then once they're close together, I can knot. I'm just going to trim this long tail so it's a bit more manageable. And then these black ends I can leave just to form part of the stuffing of the gingerbread man. Okay, now for round 12. So we're going to do some decreases now from round 12, but we're going to start in the usual way. So we'll start with a chain 1 if you haven't already done that. And then we're going to do single crochets in the first 4 stitches. Then we're going to do a decrease in the next stitch. So a decrease just means you're turning 2 stitches into 1, so you're decreasing the number of stitches. To do a decrease, you want to insert your hook under just the front prong of the V. So normally when we've been doing our single crochets, we've been going under both the front and the back part of the V. This time we just want to go under the front bit. So you're actually going under that front bit and then coming out in the middle of the V. Then you want to swing your crochet hook down so that you can get the head of it under just that front loop of the stitch after that. So on my hook I've got 2 loops from the front part of the next 2 stitches. Then you want to yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2. And that essentially turns 2 stitches into 1. So then we want to do another 4 single crochets in the next 4 stitches before doing another decrease. So again, to do a decrease, under the front prong only of the next stitch and under the front prong only of the stitch after that, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So just continue this pattern around of 4 single crochets followed by a decrease. You'll repeat the pattern 6 times in total and have 30 stitches by the end of the round. Then you can continue with round 13, so slip stitch to join as normal, chain 1. Then for round 13 you're doing single crochets in the first 3 stitches followed by a decrease. You'll repeat this pattern 6 times, slip stitch to join, and you'll have 24 stitches by the end of round 13. For round 14 you'll start with a chain 1, single crochet in the first 2 stitches, then do a decrease. Repeat that pattern 6 times, slip stitch to join, and you'll have 18 stitches by the end of the round. Then I'll meet you back here to stuff and finish off the head of our gingerbread man. Okay, so once you're finished with row 14, now you can use some of the polyfill to stuff the head. Just make sure you don't use all of it because we need some for the body as well. Then for round 15, we're going to chain 1 and then alternate between single crochets and decreases. So into the first stitch we'll do a single crochet, decrease in the next, and just repeat this all the way around. And then once you get back around to the start, you just want to slip stitch to join as normal. But then we're going to fasten off. So to fasten off, you just want to cut a yarn tail. You want a decent length because we're going to use it to sew the head and the body together. And then to fasten off, you just want to yarn over and then pull that yarn all the way through the loop and pull it tight to create a knot. And then the head of your gingerbread man is done. Okay, next we want to make the arms, and for the arms you'll want to grab the brown yarn again. We're going to start the arms with another magic circle. So again, as a reminder, you want to have the yarn tail facing down, wrap it around your first 2 fingers underneath and into an X. Go under this first strand of yarn, grab the second one, pull it through and twist it on top. grab this strand and pull that through the loop on your hook. And for round 1 we're going to do 6 single crochets into the magic ring, just like we did for the head, making sure to mark that first and last real stitch. Once you've done your 6 single crochets, pull on the yarn tail to close it up and just pop a stitch marker in that last stitch. Then we're going to slip stitch to join, and chain 1 for the start of round 2. For round 2 we're going to start with an increase in the first stitch, so 2 single crochets into that first stitch, and move your stitch marker into the first of those. Into the next 2 stitches we're going to do single crochets, and we'll repeat that a second time, so increase in the next stitch, followed by 2 single crochets, but stop just before you complete that last single crochet. Okay, so I'm at my last stitch. I want to start my single crochet as normal, so insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. You'll have 2 loops in your hook. Now we actually want to switch yarn colour here. So you want to pick up your white yarn, and then we're just going to drape the white yarn over the crochet hook, and we're going to pull it through those 2 loops to complete the stitch. And now we're going to work with the white yarn for the next row, so pick that up as you're working yarn. You do just want to make sure that your tails are at the back of your work as you work this next round. So we're going to slip stitch to join with the white yarn like we typically would, and chain 1 for the start of the next round. And then for round 3 we're just going to do single crochets in the white all the way around, so 8 single crochets in total. And we're going to do the same thing to change back to the brown yarn here. So we're going to start that final single crochet. When we've got 2 loops on our hook, we're going to stop, then we're going to drop the white yarn, and we're going to pick back up the brown yarn. Now the thing to be careful of is you don't want to pick up this tail, you want to pick up the strand that is still attached to your ball of yarn, and then yarn over with that yarn and pull that through, and then we can continue the rest of the arms using the brown yarn. So again, we'll slip stitch back to join, and chain 1 for the start of the next round. Then for rounds 4 through to 8 you're just doing single crochets all the way around in the brown yarn. Sorry, I should say as well that because we're not going to use the white yarn anymore, we can also cut that off. And then just continue working with the brown yarn for rounds 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, chaining, slip stitching to join at the end of each round and chaining 1 at the start of each round. You will have 8 stitches at the end of each round, and I'll meet you back here at the end of round 8. Okay, once you've finished round 8, we just want to join with a slip stitch to finish that row. And then we're going to fasten off, so you can cut a yarn tail, again leaving a decent amount so that we can use it to attach the arm to the body. And fasten off. And then we do just need to weave in these initial yarn tails, so to do that you just want to turn your work through to the wrong side. And we're just going to weave in these ends like we did for the head. You'll have 3 ends to weave in: your initial yarn tail connected to your magic ring and the 2 white tails. You don't want to weave in this final yarn tail because we're going to use that for sewing up. And then you can tuck these yarn tails back into the arm, or if they're a bit long like mine are, you can just trim them off as well. And just push it back through the right way. And there's your first little arm done. So you just want to repeat this process exactly to make the second arm. And the process for doing the legs is very similar. Again, you want to start with a magic ring. You'll do 6 single crochets into the magic ring, slip stitch to join, and by the end of round 1 you'll have 6 stitches. So for round 2 you'll chain 1, increase in the first stitch, single crochet in the second stitch, repeat that pattern 3 times, slip stitch to join, and you'll have 9 stitches by the end of round 2. There's actually an error in the pattern, it says 8 stitches, but you'll actually have 9. You also want to change to your white yarn at the end of round 2. For round 3 you'll use the white yarn, chain 1, single crochet in each of the 9 stitches, slip stitch to join, change back to the brown yarn at the end of that round, and you'll have 9 stitches at the end of round 3. Then for rounds 4 through to 8 you'll chain 1, single crochet in each of the 9 stitches, slip stitch to join, and you'll still have 9 stitches by the end of round 8. For your first leg you want to fasten off and cut the yarn. Then for your second leg, don't fasten off, so just meet me back here at the end of round 8 on your second leg, and then I'll show you how to connect the legs and make the body. Okay, so I've made my 2 legs. One of my legs has been fastened off and my other one still has my remaining brown yarn attached to it. You want to take the leg that has your yarn still attached to it, and you're going to chain 3. And this is essentially going to serve as a bridge between our 2 legs. Okay, then once you've done your 3 chains, we're going to connect our 2 legs together. Now, you can insert your hook into any stitch on your other leg, but you probably want the seam where you change colour to be at the back and in the same place for both of your legs. So just insert your hook into a stitch on the other leg, and then you're going to do a single crochet, and we're going to mark that single crochet as the first stitch of the round. Then we're going to work around this leg that we've just attached, so we'll be doing 9 single crochets in total, so another 8. Once I've done my 8 single crochets, you should be back at the chain between the 2 legs. We're going to do 3 single crochets into the side of this chain. So you just want to insert your hook under one of the bars of yarn of the chain stitch, and do a single crochet. And into the next 2 chains. And then we're back to our other leg, and we're going to do 9 single crochets around that leg. Once you've done your 9 single crochets around that leg, you should be back to the little bridge, and we're just going to do single crochets into the other side of the bridge, 3 in total. So essentially we have created a new row of 24 stitches, and that was the 9 around the first leg, 3 across the bridge, another 9 around the second leg, and another 3 across the bridge. And this is now the 24 stitches we're going to work into to do the body. Okay, so we want to slip stitch back to that first stitch and chain 1. And then for rounds 2 through to 9, we're just going to be doing single crochets all the way around. So again, the first 9 single crochets are around the first leg. Make sure to move your stitch marker into that first stitch. Then you'll do 3 single crochets into the 3 single crochets across the bridge. Another 9 around the next leg. And 3 into the 3 single crochets on the bridge. Slip stitch to join and chain 1. You want to continue this until round 9, so chaining 1 at the start of each round, single crochet into each of the 24 stitches, slip stitch to join. You'll repeat this for rows 2 through to 9. For row 10, you'll single crochet in the first 2 stitches, decrease in the next. You'll repeat that pattern 6 times, slip stitch to join, and you'll have 18 stitches by the end of round 10. For round 11, you'll chain 1, single crochet in the next 18 stitches, slip stitch to join. For round 12, you'll do the same thing, chain 1, single crochet in each of the 18 stitches, slip stitch to join. For round 13, you'll chain 1, single crochet in the first stitch, decrease across the next 2 stitches, repeat that pattern 6 times, slip stitch to join, and you'll have 12 stitches by the end of round 13, and I'll meet you back here at the end of round 13. Okay, I've just finished round 13 of the body, but just a mini rant. So I ran out of the gingerbread colour yarn. You can probably see the line here where my yarn changes colour. I just happen to have some similar coloured yarn from another Kmart kit that I've done, but as you can see it's not quite the right shade. I'm frustrated about this because this happens a lot with the Kmart kits where they just don't include enough yarn to finish your project. I really felt like they had upped their game with the Santa kit because it was a much better quality pattern, it had enough yarn in it, it was a really great pattern, a really great final product. And it looks like they kind of changed their manufacturer, the instructions, the packaging looks really similar across the 3 Kmart Christmas kits that I did. But this one suffers from all the same issues that the earlier kits had. So the pattern has errors in it, there are elements that are not well explained or not explained at all, for example how to connect the legs and start the body, and they haven't included enough yarn. Also, the yarn in this kit is some of the most frustrating Kmart yarn I've used. It's really splitty, the hook is too small for the size of yarn, and because this is a small fiddly project, it's really frustrating to work with. I've not enjoyed making this gingerbread man at all. If you are getting really frustrated with this kit, I would suggest either trying the Christmas tree, I think that is a much more beginner friendly one, or the Santa. The Santa is not as beginner friendly, it's a little bit more complicated as a pattern, but it's a better quality kit. Of course as well, feel free to check out my Learn to Crochet kit, which is designed much more to be a masterclass for how to learn the skills of crochet in a box. Okay, so now we just need to stuff the body of our gingerbread man. Try to poke it down into the legs if you can. Okay, now for the bow. So the bow, you want the red yarn. We're going to start the bow with another magic circle. So again, as a reminder, yarn tail facing down between your thumb and first finger. Wrap it around your first 2 fingers, underneath and into an X. Under this top strand of yarn, grab the second strand and pull it through and twist it on top. Grab this strand of yarn and pull that through. Okay, we're going to start by chaining 3. So to do a chain, you just yarn over and pull that through and repeat that 3 times. This red yarn is just as splitty as the brown. Then you're going to do 3 double crochets. So to do a double crochet, you want to yarn over before you insert your hook into the magic circle. Yarn over and pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. You want to yarn over, pull through just the first 2 loops. You'll then have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through those final 2 loops. And that's a double crochet. You want to do that 3 times in total, so we'll do another 2. So again, yarn over, insert your hook into the circle, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Then we're going to do another 3 chains, and then a slip stitch into the magic circle. Then we're just going to repeat this, so another 3 chains, another 3 double crochets, another 3 chains, and a slip stitch. You just want to pull on your yarn tail to close it up, then you can fasten off. Then with your bow, you just want to weave in this initial yarn tail so that your magic ring doesn't come undone, but leave this final one here because we'll use that to attach the bow tie to the gingerbread man. Okay, you should know everything that you need to know now to make the hat. So for the hat, you want to use the red yarn, start with the magic ring, 6 single crochets into that magic ring for round 1, slip stitch to join, you'll have 6 stitches at the end of round 1. For round 2, you'll chain 1, single crochet in the first stitch, increase in the second stitch, repeat that pattern 3 times, slip stitch to join, you'll have 9 stitches by the end of round 2. For round 3, start with the chain 1, single crochet in each of the 9 stitches all the way around, slip stitch to join. For round 4, start with the chain 1, single crochet in the first 2 stitches, increase in the third, repeat that 3 times, slip stitch to join, you'll have 12 stitches by the end of round 4. For round 5, you'll chain 1, single crochet in the first 3 stitches, increase in the fourth, repeat that 3 times, slip stitch to join, and you'll have 15 stitches by the end of round 5. Before you finish that last stitch of round 5, you want to switch to the white yarn. You can also cut your red yarn at this point because we're not going to be picking it up again. You want to do the last round in the white, start with the chain 1, single crochet in each of the 15 stitches all the way around, slip stitch to join, you'll have 15 stitches by the end of the round. You want to weave in your initial red yarn tail from your magic ring, but leave the white yarn tail loose because we'll use that to attach the hat onto the gingerbread man. To make the pom-pom, you want to take the white yarn, you'll start with another magic ring, work 6 single crochets into that magic ring, pull the tail to close, slip stitch to join, you'll have 6 stitches at the end of round 1. For round 2, you start with a chain 1, single crochet in the first stitch, increase in the next stitch, repeat this pattern 3 times, slip stitch to join, you'll have 9 stitches by the end of round 2. For round 3, you'll start with a chain 1, single crochet in the first stitch, decrease in the next stitch, repeat this pattern 3 times, slip stitch to join, and you'll have 6 stitches by the end of round 3. You can cut your yarn and fasten off, but leave a tail for attaching the pom-pom to the hat. And I'll meet you back here once you've made the hat and the pom-pom and show you how to put your gingerbread all together. And now our final step is just to assemble. So you should have the body of your gingerbread man, your completed head, you'll have a little hat and the pom-pom, you'll have 2 arms and a bow tie. You'll also need your tapestry needle to sew all your pieces together. So first we're going to sew the head onto the body. You can use either the yarn tail attached to the body or the one attached to the head, maybe whatever one's longer. Thread that onto your tapestry needle. Decide which side you want to have the front of your gingerbread man. And then essentially we're going to go under a stitch on the body or on the head, depending on which yarn tail you are using. Pull that all the way through, and then you want to come in the opposite direction up through the next stitch, and then up through the next stitch on the other piece that you're connecting, and then back down. So we're just going to follow this all the way around, connecting each piece to the corresponding stitch on the other piece. Then when you get all the way back around, I like to generally close this off with a knot, so just going under a stitch, creating a loop, and then pulling your needle through that loop to create a knot. And then you can hide this yarn tail in the body of the gingerbread man, so just insert your needle close to the knot and then poke it out somewhere else. And then you can just trim this bit of yarn as well. You can also do the same thing with this yarn tail here, which is our spare yarn tail from when we connected the legs. And also whichever yarn tail you didn't use to attach the head and body together. Then we want to attach the arms. So the arms, you just want to thread that yarn tail on. Check your placement. You want it in line with the legs along the side here, and you want it the same height on both sides, so just count your stitches. And it's a little bit different than when we attach the head because we don't have the top of stitches to work into on the body. But you want to do the same idea with the arm itself. So just go through a stitch somewhere on the body, come up through a stitch on the arm, and then back down the next one, and then just catch a stitch or part of a stitch on the body to connect it. And just continue this all the way around until it is fully sewn on. You can fasten this off in the same way, and then you just want to repeat with your second arm. Okay, and then next we want to do our hat. So first we want to attach our pom-pom to the top of the hat. So I suggest just inserting your needle through the top of the magic circle in the hat, and then securing it at the inside the hat, either by weaving it in or doing a knot or some combination. I think actually, like, I'm used to doing pom-poms that are a perfect circle, but this one isn't because actually it's not completely closed. So actually I think we want to sew it on in the same kind of way that we've attached the arms by working around the final row of stitches. If you've already cut off your tail like I have, you can just grab another length of yarn to sew on. If you are doing that with an extra length of yarn, what you want to do is start your sewing up as normal, but just pull it through and either tie a knot here just to avoid accidentally pulling it all the way through, and then you can work as normal and we'll just weave in that end at the end. Then I'm just going to knot these two ends together and hide the tails inside the hat. And then we want to sew the hat onto the head. I was actually a bit too zealous and I cut off my yarn tail that I used to do the white row. So if you've still got that yarn tail attached, then you should use that. But if not, again, you can just cut a new length of white yarn. And we just attach the hat in the same way as we attach the arms. Tip as well, if you've got a really short bit of yarn like this one here, you can actually insert your needle in before you thread it, which can make it a little bit easier when your bit of yarn is too short. Okay, next is the bow tie. So just moving your yarn tail from your bow tie to about the center of the bow tie if you haven't already, and then you could just go under a couple of stitches, go under a stitch in the middle of the neck a couple of times to secure it. And fasten off and hide the yarn tail in the same way. Up to you if you want to sew it flat, so it sits flat against the body, but I also think it's kind of fine sticking up a little bit too. I might just anchor the bottom a little bit though. Okay, now our final details are to attach the buttons and also the chain. So this clear thread that they include is for the buttons, because these buttons are too small to get the yarn or tapestry needle through. The keychain itself, it looks like it's actually just a lobster clasp, so you can essentially just clasp it onto the top of the gingerbread man's head, like so. So then for your buttons, you want to take this little metal needle that they included and just thread this plastic thread onto it. It's going to fit. And then you want to come up through your button and back down another button, and then knot the tail, so again it doesn't come through. And then we can sew it on to the gingerbread man. Then I'm just going to knot these again. And then I can actually do the second button by just going under the fabric and popping back out where I want the second button to sit. Come up through one of the holes, down through the diagonal hole. Through a stitch on the gingerbread man, and up through the remaining two holes. And I'll connect this with another knot. This is really stretchy yarn, so just pull it as tight as you can to make sure that it's fully tightened. And then you can hide these ends in just the same way we did with the yarn. Your little gingerbread key ring is done. The jury's very out on this one for me. This was not my favourite Kmart kit, and I think the Santa kit was miles better in terms of the quality of the pattern and the materials. So I'm a bit disappointed with this one. The final product is pretty cute, but I actually think the gingerbread man that they put out last year was better. But anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed making this project. Thanks so much for watching this video. I really hope that you found it useful. And if you made it to this point in the video, I'm so grateful. You are my people, and I am so glad that you found your way here. And if this project has got you hooked on crochet, be sure to like and subscribe for more info and inspo for new crochet makers. Also, if you're really wanting to master the art of crochet, be sure to check out my Learn How to Crochet kit in my YouTube storefront. So this kit is a little bit different from others that you'll find in the market. I've designed this kit more like a Learn How to Crochet masterclass in a box. And by that I mean that I've specifically designed the patterns so that they are ideal for beginners, cover all of the major stitches and techniques that you'll want to master when you're starting out. What this means is that by the end of the kit, you'll be able to tackle basically any beginner, advanced beginner, and even some intermediate crochet projects. So in this kit, you'll learn things like how to keep your edges straight, how to manage your tension, how to seam, and even how to do some color work. Each pattern builds on the skills that you learned in the previous pattern so that your confidence and your skill set will grow as you work through the kit. And by the end of the kit, you'll have some great little items that you can use around your house. The kit is also designed to teach you how to read a crochet pattern because I've included detailed long form written instructions alongside short form notation in the format that crochet patterns are typically written, along with detailed step-by-step tutorials. It also includes troubleshooting support and other handy tips and tricks. I've also designed the projects to expose you to different types of fibers, different styles of crochet, and different hook sizes, so you can start to learn what you really enjoy to crochet with. So make sure you go and check it out and let me know what you think. If you want to say thanks for any tutorial that you found useful, you can buy me a coffee, which is linked down in the description below. Thank you so much for crocheting with me today, and happy crafting!